Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40K, the Necrons channel. Now in today's video we're going to break away from the full reviews that we've been doing recently. Going to be doing something slightly different, and I'm going to talk about what feels like the infinite amount of ways that we can buff the defenses of the Necron warriors from the Necron Index. So I'm going to be going through the entire list of things we can do. So yeah, you'll have to bear with me on this, and I'll probably do a little dinger for how many ways I can actually come up with. But let's get cracking and get straight into this video. Let's first talk about reanimation protocols, because that's very important for this video, because the majority of the things that we're going to talk about today do relate to reanimation protocols. So let's just quickly go through this. If you want to skip past this, I'll put a timestamp down below. So reanimation protocols, which is the army rule. If your army is Necrons at the end of your command phase, that's after battle shock by the way, each unit from your army with this ability activates its reanimation protocols and reanimates D3 lost wounds, or D3 wounds. Each time such a unit reanimates a wound, it either does one of the following. So either that unit contains one or more models with fewer than their starting wounds remaining, you select one of those models to regain one lost wound out of the D3. Or if all models in that unit have their starting number of wounds, but the unit is not at starting strength, so for example you've got 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers, not 3 because you've lost one of them, but the other 2 are on full wounds, then you can effectively get one of your destroyed models and bring it back with 1 wound remaining. That will count as one of your reanimated wounds from your D3. So you keep doing one of these bullet points until you've used up your D3, and then until you start, and when you go back to starting strength on both wounds and models, then you can't use any more, but you've only got D3 anyway. So the first thing is we've got to go into the Necron Warriors datasheet to begin. Their number is Legion, so each time the unit reanimates, we'll use the reanimation protocols, it reanimates D6 wounds instead of D3. So those 2 bullet points that we mentioned, you're going to be doing D6 rather than D3, and of course they're 1 wound models, so you're just going to get models back for every roll of that D6. Now, if they are within range of an objective marker that you control, then instead of having a D6, it will be D3 plus 3, so that's an average of 5 right there. But D3 plus 3 is pretty good. So this does get a lot better. So let's start with the Canoptic Reanimator. We've done the video for this thing quite recently. The Nano Scarab Reanimation Beam Aura. Necrons within 12 inches get to use an extra D3 when they trigger reanimation protocols. So of course, if that Necron Warrior is triggering reanimation protocols on an objective, that's going to be D3 plus 3 for being on an objective, plus D3 for being within 12 inches of the Reanimator. So let's work out the average of that. D3 plus 3 is an average of 5, and then another D3 is an average of 2. So that right there would be 7 Necron Warriors, just like that, instant. You've got things such as the Resurrection Orb. Now, while the bearer is leading the unit, now this leader doesn't necessarily have to be leading the unit, because the Command Barge in fact can select a unit within 6 inches. But the Necron Lord and the Necron Overlord need to be leading a unit, and they can trigger their reanimation protocols, and they're doing it in your opponent's command phase, which is very important because that's when they're just about to score their victory points. Now, I do believe there are slight restrictions on your Catacomb Command Barge. It only counts towards infantry and mounted units, but today we are talking specifically about Necron Warriors, so it's going to work just fine. Reanimation protocols, using the Resurrection Orb in your opponent's command phase, and let's pop that Reanimator in again just for fun and giggles here. If you've got the Reanimator going off within 12 inches, guess what? You get an extra D3. And the objective, of course, as well, that's another thing. Going back to that ability, is each time the unit's reanimation protocols activate. So that is also going to be a thing as well. You've got then the Ghost Arc. The Ghost Arc has a once per phase item, but once per phase just after an enemy unit's finished making its attacks. So that most likely will be your opponent's phase, your opponent's shooting phase, your opponent's fight phase, but it can also be your fight phase, because it's just once per phase, just after an enemy unit makes its attacks. So if one or more friendly Necron units within 3 inches of the Ghost Arc lost 1 or more wounds as a result of those attacks, this model can use the ability, and if it does, select one of these warrior units, and that unit's reanimation protocols activates. Now you can't be doing this more than once per phase, so it is once per phase, even if you've got multiple Ghost Arcs. But yet again, you've got the Necron Warriors that could be on an objective, you've got the Reanimator that could be within 12 inches, it just starts to stack and stack and stack and stack and stack, and there's no restriction to that. It doesn't say you can't stack it anywhere apart from the actual ability itself. For example, the Repair Barge is only once per phase. That's the only real restriction there. Let's take this even further. The Protocol of Undying Legions, which is one of our stratagems from the Necron Index for the Awakened Dynasty. 1 command point, and you're using it in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase just after your enemy unit has resolved making attacks. Now, one of your models needs to have been destroyed in order to use this stratagem, and the effect of the stratagem is simply you use your reanimation protocols and you reanimate D3 wounds. And when doing so, if you've got a Necron character leading the unit, it's D3 plus 3. Now, going back to the very start of this video, yet again, the Necron Warrior's ability, each time the unit's reanimation protocols activates, you've just activated it. The Nanoscale reanimation beam, when a Necron's friendly unit is within 12 inches, uses reanimation protocols, you get D3 there. You see where I'm going with this, don't you? This is never ending, and it's literally every phase almost. It just feels like you can use it whenever you want, and it's brilliant. It gets even better. It gets even better. Now, if you were to use the fortification, the Conversions of Dominion, which I know it's got a little bit pricey now, it's still usable, but it has got pricey. It's got the reanimation node's aura ability, so while friendly Necron units within 6 inches of the fort, each time that unit's reanimation protocols activates, you can re-roll the dice roll to determine how many wounds are reanimated. So if you roll on the D3 plus 3 for your Necron warriors that are on an objective, you get to re-roll those dice. If you got, say, a 1, you don't want 3 plus 1, you don't want 4, you want to roll it again, don't you? So you do that, you roll it again, maybe you get the 3, so it'll be 3 plus 3, which makes you 6. Don't forget, if the reanimator's there, that's another D3, and you can re-roll that because you're using reanimation protocols there. And again, this is going to work with the stratagem, it's going to work with the resurrection orb, the ghost dark, anything that triggers reanimation protocols, you can re-roll those rolls if you are within 6 inches of the Necron's fortification. Right, now there are other things that do not relate to reanimation protocols, so we're going to get into some of those now, some defense mechanisms for your Necron warriors. The first one is the Lord's Will. If you're taking a Necron Lord, while that model is leading a unit, you can target that unit with stratagems even when they are battle shocked. Now, this is going to be quite important for a number of reasons. First of all, we've just spoke about one of the stratagems, the Protocol of Undying Legions. Maybe you want to use that. Maybe you want to use the Overwatch stratagem. Maybe you want to use the Protocol of Vengeful Stars. But even when you are battle shocked, it doesn't matter, you can still use stratagems, which will be a defense. One of the Chronomancers, well, the named Chronomancer, which is Orokin the Diviner, he's got the Master Chronomancer ability, so while he is leading a unit, all models in the unit get a 4 plus invulnerable save. I think that's mega this edition, because you can have 20 Necron warriors in a unit, and they can all have a 4 plus invulnerable save. And this is meant to be the start of 10th edition, the grand reset. It feels like the end of 9th edition, where we've just, where you know, factions just get everything. But 4 plus invulnerable save, well, unit wide, I think is pretty mega. You've then got Luminazares with the mechanical augmentation aura ability, so while friendly Necron's battle line unit, so that will be your immortals and your warriors, if they're within 6 inches of Luminazares, each time a model in the unit makes an attack, you improve the AP by 1. That's more offensive, we're looking at defensive here, so the second line, and each time an attack targets the unit, you worsen the AP by 1. So anything targeting your Necron warriors, worsen the AP by 1. Now, of course, I don't believe you're going to be going into plus 1 AP. I don't think you could do that. You have to worsen it. So if it's AP minus 1, it will just go to 0. AP minus 2 goes to minus 1, and so on. Royal Wardens have also got a use. They've got the engrammatic logic, so once per battle. This is only once per battle, unfortunately, but it's still something. At the start of any phase, you can select one friendly Necron unit that is battle shocked, and within 12 inches of this model, that unit is no longer battle shocked. So you can just literally take away battle shock. That keeps their objective control. They can also fall back. And of course use stratagems. And you wouldn't need to use the Necron Lord. In fact, this guy doesn't even need to be leading the unit. It's a unit within 12 inches. So he doesn't even need to be there. He could be buffing another unit. Technomancer's got the Rites of Reanimation ability. So the model is leading a unit will give them all the 5 plus Feel No Pain ability. So that's going to be every single model in the unit. And we've also got the deadly duo of Vargard Oberon as well as Nemesis Zandrek. They used to be Saltec characters. They are now, of course, used for the Awakened Dynasty and any other dynasty that we get in the future release. But the ability that Vargard Oberon has is Vargard's Duty. So while this model is in the same unit as Nemesis Zandrek, character models in this unit have the 4 plus Feel No Pain ability. Let's move on to a Cryptic though, which is the Chronomancer with the Time Splitter Mantle. Attacks that target this unit is a -1 to hit. Pretty nice, virtually stealth. And the Chronometron ability is also a bit of a defense mechanism in your shooting phase after the model's unit is shot. If they're not within engagement range, they can make a move up to 5 inches as if it was your movement phase. Now they're not going to be charging, but who cares, they shouldn't be charging anyway. But they can duck into, into cover, into light cover, into a ruin, or just further back, maybe out of range of some enemy units, and of course charge moves as well. You want to get out of dodge of that kind of stuff. So that's another defense mechanism from one of the Cryptex. Speaking of Cryptex or bodyguards of the Cryptex, you can of course add the Cryptothralls for 40 points, providing that you've got a Cryptek model within your Necron Warriors unit. You can also add the Cryptothralls. They're going to have the 4+ Fear No Pain save on the Cryptothralls. They're also going to give the 4+ Fear No Pain save to the Cryptek model within the unit, so that could be, say, a Plasmancer, a Technomancer, or whatever. Could even be Orokin, I suppose. And then the Systematic Vigor, which is when they're destroyed by a melee attack, on a 3+, don't remove them from play, they can still fight as if they're there, then remove them after they're fought. Now these guys don't really fight, but if you lose a lot of them, and then you get on a 3+, you bring some back, and they can at least have a little swing before they go down. So what other ones have I got that I can think of? We've got Hexmark Destroyers. They've got the Inescapable Death. So once per turn, one unit from your army with this ability can be targeted for the fire Overwatch stratagem for 0 command points, even if you've already used this stratagem on a different unit this phase. So very important, it said different unit there. In addition, each time you target this unit with the fire Overwatch stratagem, when resolving that stratagem, hits are scored on an unmodified hit roll of a 2. So bear in mind that Overwatch this edition doesn't necessarily need to be on the unit that's being charged. It could be on a nearby unit within 24 inches. Now of course the Hexmark Destroyers weapons are, I think they're 18 inches, they're not 24, but that's good enough if they're nearby. He's also got the multi-threat eliminator ability, so each time an enemy unit targets a friendly Necron unit within 3 with range attacks after the enemy is shot, this model can shoot as if it was their shooting phase. So anything that shoots your Necron warriors, as long as your Necron warriors are within 3 inches of your Hexmark can then take shots as if it was our shooting phase. Then we come on to the Canoptic Spider with the Gloom Prism Aura. Units within 6 inches get a 4+ Fear No Pain against psychic attacks. That's more defense yet again. So we come on to our final one of this video, and it's the Monolith, the Necron Monolith with the Eternity Gate. In your reinforcement step of your movement phase, you can select one Necron's infantry unit from your army that is either in reserves or on the battlefield. If you select the latter, remove the unit from the battlefield and place them into reserves. That unit is set up anywhere on the battlefield that's held within 6 inches of the Monolith and not within engagement range of enemy units, and then they can't charge. So why that is good for their defense, because you're literally moving around your warriors all within the same turn. It's within the reinforcement step of your movement phase, and you're literally moving them around, going towards the monolith, popping out 6 inches, all within the same movement phase. So maybe they were about to get charged, or maybe you just want to strengthen a certain flank, or maybe the no man's land. And it doesn't matter if they're in engagement range either. It just sucks them out and then plonks them back down onto the battlefield. So there you have it, guys. I don't know how many we got there, but it was saying a little thing on the bottom left or right of how many we actually got in terms of defense mechanisms on the Necron Warriors. If I've missed any, let me know down in the comments down below. There's probably a couple I've missed and I would love to hear about them. But guys, thank you as always for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.